Emmerdale Review. April told her parents everything, and it did not go well. And Dylan's a death's door. Can someone please remind Marin that he's a dingle? This week's Emmerdale has left my nerves completely shredded because April's secret finally came tumbling out, yet somehow things managed to get even worse. I think what struck me most was how every character involved spiraled in their own way, as if the truth cracked open a dam rather than releasing any kind of relief. And with Dylan fighting for his life, Ray and Celia circling like vultures, and Marin forgetting every scrap of dingle instinct he's ever possessed, the whole week felt like watching a nightmare unfold in slow motion. Dylan's downfall. Dylan's short-lived promotion at the turkey farm was grim from the outset. The moment he was told to rough up another worker, you could see in his eyes that he wasn't going to do it. I actually felt proud of him for that tiny act of resistance. But of course, his refusal put him exactly where Celia didn't want him in Bear's eyeline. And once Bear recognized him from the photos in Mandy and Patty's house, everything started to topple. Celia's fury when she learned Dylan had crossed paths with Bear was almost feral. Watching her hover at the edges of his birthday, desperately trying to keep him away from anyone who might help him, was genuinely unsettling. And yet Dylan, sweet but catastrophically naive, still believed he could play Ray at his own game. April's anguish. April finally cracked, and I think we all breathed out for the first time in weeks. With Dylan nudging her toward the truth, she told Marin and Rona everything. But instead of that being a turning point, it sent the whole family into complete meltdown. Their trip to the police station, only to flee without saying a word, was heartbreaking. April was shaking. Marin was shaking. Rona was barely holding it together, and still it felt like they were walking deeper into Ray and Celia's trap. April admitted she thought she had killed Callum. It was as if every ounce of hope drained from the room. And then Celia appeared at Smithy Cottage like a specter, venomous, smug, and fully aware she held all the cards. Worst birthday ever. Dylan's decision to confide in Ray was a devastating turning point. I think he truly believed Ray might be human underneath all that menace. Instead, Ray weaponized it. The image of Dylan pleading his case while Ray live-streamed the whole thing to Celia was sickening. And then came the moment none of us expected, Ray running him down in cold blood. No hesitation, no remorse. April, Marin, and Rona witnessing it happen felt like an execution of their last shred of security. Celia's satisfaction was chilling, yet by some miracle Dylan survived, though barely. It's clear that what happened this week will leave scars on every character involved. Why didn't anyone question Callum's death? It's been nagging at me for weeks, but this episode made the holes impossible to ignore. April managed to track down Callum's family, his home, his entire life, yet somehow didn't clock that no one online was mourning him. No missing persons appeals, no memorial posts, nothing. It's clear she's terrified and wants to cling to whatever story makes sense in her panic. But the adults, not questioning the lack of evidence, feels wildly out of character. Marin and Rona spotted Ray's manipulation before. Why didn't they see this? They are dingles truly. Can someone march Marin to Wishing Well Cottage for a refresher lesson on dingle law this week? He was shaking, fretting, and catastrophizing, and not once did the option of telling Kane even cross his mind. Kane, who solves 90% of village problems by just raising an eyebrow. Kane, who could dismantle Ray in about 30 seconds. The fact that Marin and Rona didn't even consider turning to the family was maddening. And that's before we even get to the fact Celia is Moira's business partner. The Dingles would eat these two alive. Charity alone could handle Celia. Aaron would deal with Ray before breakfast. Mandy, I think Celia would last about 4 minutes against Mandy. Ray and Laurel. Ray's double life is becoming genuinely disturbing. One minute he's terrorizing teenagers, the next he's charming Laurel over drinks. I think what unsettles me most is the way he seamlessly switches personas. Laurel seems completely oblivious to how often he slinks off mid-date with some ridiculous farming excuse. He's never at work, Laurel. He's always skulking around looking like trouble, and watching him near Arthur and do it makes my skin crawl. Ray always being one step ahead. There's a point where villain omnipotence stops being clever and starts being frustrating, and I think we hit that point this week. Every time April or Dylan moves an inch toward freedom, Ray or Celia just materialize like horror movie antagonists. Their knowledge borders on supernatural at this point. How do they know everything? Who's feeding them information? And how did Ray know the exact details of Rona's trauma with Pierce? It's a detail that felt far too intimate for him to simply overhear. Belle and April. Among all the darkness, the moment between Belle and April felt like a breath of warm air. Belle saw straight through April's facade in seconds. I hope April finds a safe space with her because she desperately needs someone who won't crumble under the pressure. And Belle referencing a Manchester wedding, possibly a sly nod to Debbie Webster, was a delightful touch for fans who love a bit of cross-soap flavor.